welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And this is Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Similry Breast Pumps. From ultra tiny pumps as small as a sticky note to fully adjustable pumps with 85 setting combinations, you're in control of your pumping journey. And today's episode is also brought to you by Cake Maternity. Cake Maternity is a designer of comfortable, functional, and beautiful maternity and nursing bras with tons of different variations, such as nursing pumping bras, sports bras, plunge nursing bras, skin to skin, birthing bras, comfy sleep bras. And we will hear more from our sponsors a little bit later. But you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check out our sponsor page. If you need anything, see if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And we make sure that all of our sponsors are super awesome. And while you're there, you can scroll down and enter your email address, and we'll send these episodes straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon, and we would love to see you over there. Come click the link in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, or you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check out our Wall of Fame, because we have all of our patrons over on the Wall of Fame and a link to how you can check out the different tiers. And there's a lot of extra original, fresh content going on over there and a lot of sharing and getting to know of each other. So we hope to see you there. And we're still hosting our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet. Any type of review that you're able to leave, just leave that wherever you can and take a screenshot and send it to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com along with your address. And we will send you podcast stickers and thank you for nursing in public cards. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are. We can send those anywhere on the globe.
Anywhere.
Yeah. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
Yes, and it's a little bit long, but I wanted to read it because it goes with what we're talking about today. So it says, thank you. I have been listening to this podcast since my baby was born. My baby didn't get back to her birth weight for the first 10 days, which, side note, is normal.
Totally normal.
After the first 5 days, her pediatrician was recommending formula. I was devastated as that is one thing. When I was pregnant, I said again and again, I will exclusively breastfeed my baby. Even my family said, yeah, sure, we will see, which made me want to do it even more, honestly. Same. All the research I did, I knew it was the right choice. Since I said I didn't want to do that, her pediatrician said to pump and top her up after breastfeeding. I wasn't responding to pumps. I panicked as she said after day 10 would have to give her formula or she would be considered not thriving. I was not able to pump and it scared me. I thought I wasn't making enough milk. Your podcast saved me. I cried and Googled and found you. I listened to all the episodes that were related to my concerns and was hooked. I went back and listened to every episode you have made. I was confident it was okay. I couldn't pump and to latch the baby as often as possible. It was exhausting. My baby wouldn't sleep unless she was touching me. So those episodes saved me also. She napped on me and slept next to me safely while side nursing. And by day 10, she had gained over her birth weight. Her doctor was shocked and I couldn't be happier. At 14 months now, we are still going strong. She is in the 80th percentile for weight and 90th for height, and she has been sick once. I will breastfeed her until she self-weans. I love the connection we have, the comfort she gets, and how healthy it is. I'm so grateful for your podcast and for all the amazing info you share. I'm in several mothers groups on Facebook and always recommend your podcast for moms asking about alcohol, formula, and not making enough milk, etc. You're amazing. Thank you so much. There's so much to unpack with this.
I know. I just wish everybody knew about our podcast. That sounds so egotistical, but I swear I mean it in the most genuine way. Like, I wish people could just have the good information. Mm-hmm. It's so ridiculous that we still have to, that people have to go through all of these like places, trusted places like hospitals and doctors' offices and like not unless they, well, I mean, of course, people get help in other ways, but like a lot of the people that I know who tell me they find our tiny little podcast and they're like, oh, I finally got the good information to help with what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's dumb. I'm sorry. That's so dumb that it has to be that way.
It's ridiculous. But to tell a new parent, if your baby isn't back to birth weight by day 10, she's going to be considered not thriving.
Yeah.
How traumatizing is that?
So, my God, so traumatizing.
I mean, she like
And
pushed this poor mother over the edge. Right. Based on
nothing. Based on the fact that she's not back to her birth weight yet at 10 days, which, by the way, is totally normal.
How about suggesting she see a lactation consultant instead of suggesting formula? How about that?
Yeah.
Let's make sure your baby's breastfeeding well. Here's a lactation consultant you can see.
Yeah, let's just
hand out a phone number.
That's better.
So maddening. And that goes perfectly with this.
And it's like, I know, we're already in the conversation. I was just going to say, we did this episode. We did that episode on the history of formula and how, like, you know, doctors became really, like, kind of puppets for the formula companies. Like, they would just give them all of these, like, incentives, like financial incentives into hospitals, into doctors' offices. You know, you go into a doctor's office, everything in there has the name of a formula company on it. Mm-hmm. From the scale to the pen that the nurse is using. Everything is provided from the formula company. They give them gifts. They give them dinners. They give money. They give everything so that doctors will use their product.
Yep.
And I mean, this is what you're up against when you are a part of the medical industry, which we all are, because that's how, I mean, unless you had like some kind of unassisted birth, or, I mean, I don't know. I had a home birth, so I didn't come into contact with as much of that. I didn't come into contact with any of that. I guess that's how you can beat it, but
they're like totally oblivious. Like totally oblivious.
They're like totally oblivious.
They're totally oblivious.
Jack would love that. Jack goes around all the time now and he's like, oh my God. Because he thinks it's really funny. But that was what you were just like totally oblivious.
They are like, all I can think of is when I worked in the doctor's office, when I worked in the pediatric office, and I was part-time. So I worked in the morning because that's when the babies came in, was in the morning, the healthy babies. So there was one time, so the formula reps would come in the afternoon. So I never ever saw the formula reps. I would just come in and like the next day and we would have like all this formula. So, which always irritated me. But there was one time that one of the secretaries was like, oh yeah, or maybe it was one of the nurses. The formula rep wanted to talk to you. I'm like, what? I'm not talking to the formula rep. Like, that's against my ethical standards.
Right.
Like, that is like literally against my code of ethics as a lactation consultant to have a full-blown conversation with a formula rep. About what? What are we going to talk about? The weather? I don't know.
No, they're going to try to talk you into recommending their product.
Exactly.
Which is freaking insane.
It's insane. Or what do you recommend? What do you recommend supplementing? Milk, breast milk. That's what we recommend. Like, what kind of question? Like, what? I don't even know. But I was like, no, I'm not talking to them. Like, that's what I mean. They're so oblivious. Like to think that this is just a product that everybody needs. And it's not.
Right.
It's not a product everybody needs. No, some babies need it. Yes. But not all babies.
And in the situations where they need it, there's very specific. And there should be a team of people working with this baby to decide that they should be supplemented with formula. And in my opinion, it should be free, and it should not be this whole capitalist, like money making, you know, this is just not capitalist for-profit medical services does not work. It's not going to be in the interest of the patient. If it's for-profit is the interest of making money. So they don't care what situation this baby is in. They just want to push the formula. When it should be, there's a team of people working, like a lactation consultant and a doctor and a whatever specialist for whatever's going on with the baby, to say, we're in a situation where the baby's just not getting what they need. And a lot of times the supplementing can be done with breast milk.
Exactly.
Not formula.
But even like, I really feel like there's so many people out there. And when I say people, I mean doctors, nurses, parents, grandparents, random people, whatever, who don't believe that breastfeeding works.
Yeah.
And
Or they
this
don't
pediatrician,
believe it's enough.
obviously,
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
believe it's enough. And this pediatrician obviously was one of those people because that was in the review, because she said, that she was very surprised when she went back at day 10 and the baby had gained weight.
Yeah.
And was just on breastfeeding. And they had said, oh, you're going to have to give some formula. Like, no, you don't have to give some formula. Well, because breastfeeding does work.
Yes. And that comes down to this very foundation of that particular doctor's training. I mean, like like curriculum in medical school is provided by formula companies. They get trained on how to prescribe formula and how to, use formula. They are not taught about lactation. And people don't like it when I say that. They're like, oh, I'm a doctor and I was trained in lactation. Okay. You're like, 8-hour round that you did with whatever labor and delivery doesn't count. And I think nowadays, like family doctors and stuff are given more, and that's great.
If they look for it, I think. I think only if they go after it. I don't even know if it's like an actual thing.
Yeah, it's
like
probably
in the curriculum.
It's probably not much.
If they go after it.
Like more is probably still not much. And right, there's a lot of doctors that do pursue like even an IBCLC certification for themselves, which is great. Also shouldn't be necessary. It should just be part of their schooling to just have that education and then refer somebody on if there's like, an issue. But so then you have this doctor who doesn't have any idea about lactation. And so doctors are going to do what they're comfortable with, right? Like this is why a lot of people end up in C-sections, because an OBGYN, an obstetrician, is a surgeon.
Right.
And so they end up doing what's comfortable for them. Here's a situation. Right. This is what's comfortable for me to help this person. And I'm not saying they're not trying to help. They are.
And that's the thing, even with the formula. I really, like this pediatrician really believed that this baby was not going to get to where they need to be. And she was looking out for the best interest of the baby.
Right.
But not recognizing that the best interest of the baby was breast milk. Like, it's so backwards and screwed up.
It's just for profit. This is what happens when everything is for profit. And my biggest thing, if you are listening and you're pregnant, which I know is not the majority of our listeners, you have babies now, and we'll get to, the different ages of babies. But if you are pregnant right now and you haven't had your baby yet, the biggest piece of advice I have for you is to get a doula. Do not have your baby in a hospital without a doula. Because that is their job. Their job is to know and find out what you want and to advocate for that in the hospital. Because you are not going to be in a great state to advocate for yourself. And the doulas are going to know. They're going to know how that hospital works. They're probably going to know the doctors. They're going to know their little tricks and, things like that. And they're going to be able to advocate for you to have your birth and the feeding of your baby immediately after birth go the way that you want it to go. I don't think that anybody should be going into a hospital birth without a doula. Across the board. You just should not. Don't do it.
I agree. Absolutely.
And the doula will be there. You say like, I really want to breastfeed and this is what, I'm concerned about, them kind of saying that I need formula in all kinds of random ways. And then of course you're exhausted and you're worried about your baby. So you don't know what's right or wrong. The doula is going to know. I don't think there's any way to do it without a doula.
I don't either.
And if you did without a doula and you didn't get formula pushed, that's great. You got lucky. That's great. But they're also not just to support your breastfeeding wishes, like all of your wishes.
Doulas are amazing.
Yeah, they're absolutely necessary. And then also, while you're pregnant, find a lactation consultant. Your doula probably knows one. Your doula can say, oh yeah, here. Oh, your doula can help with basic things with breastfeeding.
Yeah, they have
Like,
to
they
take
can
a little
help you-
basic lactation stuff.
Yeah, like they can help you like position the baby probably, like, kind of figure out how to latch the baby on and, do like fun things like that. If you run into any issues, your doula is going to know a lactation consultant and know to refer you to that person. And that's just, doulas are worth their weight in gold. And I don't think people really think much of them. It's just like, oh, I think people think of doulas as being, and there are doulas out here like this. And if this is your thing, that's cool. But I think a lot of people think of doulas as being like, they're the ones who are going to like sage the room while you're in labor, or they're going to like put like a spell on you, a relaxation spell. This is not all doulas. If that's not your thing, cool, get one. If that's not your thing, if you want like an evidence-based, like scientifically minded doula, they're out there too, who are going to be much more involved in the birthing process, in comfort measures, in the breastfeeding, getting breastfeeding started off, well, and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay, I just spent like 5 minutes praising doulas.
They're amazing.
But you got to do it. And we can take a break and then talk about more about ways of dealing with formula pushing.
Okay, perfect.
We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Similry Breast Pumps. Similry Breast Pumps wants you to have control of your pumping journey. With a continuous focus on research and development and a team comprised of CLCs, Similry Breast Pumps strives to offer pumps for every lifestyle. From ultra tiny pumps as small as a sticky note to fully adjustable pumps with 85 setting combinations, you're in control of your pumping journey. With resources like virtual breast shield sizing consults in English and Spanish, and an exclusive Get the Right Fit program that offers a third set of breast shields free, Similry gives you vital tools for a successful journey. A safe choice for everyone, all Similry pump parts and storage bags are phthalate and BPA free. Better yet, Similry breast pumps can be personalized with a fun pump skin decal. See their full pump family at Similry Breast Pumps, that's CIMILRE breastpumps.com, and use code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase. And today's episode is also brought to you by Cake Maternity. Cake Maternity is a designer of comfortable, functional, and beautiful maternity and nursing bras. As mothers themselves, they understand that no two breastfeeding journeys are alike. They've spent over 15 years developing their range of styles, which include hands-free pumping bras, supportive nursing sports bras, and lace plunge nursing bras, to skin birthing bras, comfy sleep bras, and everything in between. They also understand that the changes our bodies go through during pregnancy and breastfeeding, which is why they cater to 28 to 44 band sizes and A through L cup sizes. So regardless of your size, style, or whether you're breastfeeding, pumping, or both, Cake Maternity have done the hard work so you can focus on what's important, nourishing your baby. Shop their range of maternity and nursing bras, clothing, and accessories online at cakematernity.com. That's CAKE maternity.com. Use code BADASS15 for 15% off of your purchase. And all of our sponsors and their promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, and also over at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. You'll find all of our other episodes. You'll find information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne. So now you're out of the hospital and you're like, I'm in the clear. No one's going to push formula on me anymore. Except maybe your baby's not back to birth weight by the next day. Or your baby, what time, when is back to birth weight generally? When do you see that?
By 2 weeks. Like 10 days to 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Not by day 5, that's for sure.
So if anyone is saying that to you before 2 weeks, be a duck. So we say, be a duck. You know how like water just rolls off?
Oh,
I
like that little
water
phrase.
just rolls off their little feathers.
Yeah.
Yuck. Let it go. If they start threatening you, like this person, I would immediately call a lactation consultant.
Oh, yeah.
And say, my pediatrician has threatened to, classify my baby as failure to thrive if they're not gaining this amount of weight, and they will help you.
They will absolutely help you, because that is our job.
Right.
Is to see, is this a valid concern? Is your baby nursing well? Is there a reason why your baby would not gain weight at all? And honestly, like, here's the other thing. Okay. Breastfeeding is a natural, normal process. And if your baby isn't gaining weight with breastfeeding, wouldn't it make sense to find out why that is, instead of just like, oh, let's just give them something else to be sure that they gain the weight? Right. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, there could be like how do we know there's not an issue there that we're just covering up?
Yeah, like if you went into your doctor's office and you were like, my stomach really hurts, they would be like, oh, they would ask you all these questions like, what have you eaten? Have you had anything new? Have you had this in the past? They would ask you a whole bunch of questions, not just be like, oh, take a Tums.
Right. Which is what I would tell my kids.
I mean, they might eventually just give you some medication for it. But like, they would probably try to be like, I wonder what's going on. They would ask you questions.
Or if you went to the doctor and you were losing weight, for an unknown reason, just mysteriously losing weight, they would be running all sorts of tests and, seeing what. But when it's a baby, just give them formula, fatten them up.
Yeah.
Like, don't we want to know if there's a reason why your baby's not gaining? Is it because they're not moving milk well? If they're not moving milk well, why are they not moving milk well?
Yeah.
Because they should be able to do that. A healthy full-term baby should be able to do that. And if they're not, then there's something going on. But instead of just saying, oh, let's just cover it up with something else, like, that's not okay. We need to know what's going on there. It's just
so exhausting.
It is. It is. So one of the things, before you move off, I know we just moved off the hospital thing, but one of the things I want to say about the hospital is that there are specific reasons in the hospital where they might try to push formula on you.
Yeah.
And that would be like, if your baby's not latching, if your baby's got jaundice, if your baby's crying. Sometimes that's the case. If your baby's crying, they'll be like, oh, your baby's just too hungry and you don't have any milk yet, so we're just going to give him formula. That's a true thing. And if your baby has blood sugar issues. So one of the things that you can do, and again, if you're listening while you're pregnant, this is a thing. If you're not pregnant, if you've already had your baby and you're going, oh my God, this is what happened to me, then I am so sorry that we're doing this episode too late for you. But one of the things that you can do is you can bring your colostrum to the hospital, which means that you can actually express colostrum while you're pregnant and save it and bring it to the hospital to give to your baby instead of having them push formula on you. And there are certain ways that you can do that. And we do have an episode on it. I'll link it in the show notes. But one of the things that you have to remember about it is you have to be at least 36 weeks pregnant, not a high risk pregnancy, at least, 36 weeks of a normal pregnancy. And you can hand express twice a day for 10 minutes a day after 36 weeks. 2 times a day for 10 minutes a day. That's what the research says. And save that colostrum, put it in your freezer. And when you go to the hospital and you have your baby and your baby is too sleepy to latch, or your baby's having blood sugar issues, you can just grab that colostrum and give it to them. And we don't have to worry about supplementing with formula. Just a thought.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you can do to be proactive. And like I said, if you want more info on that, I can I'll link that in the show notes. But that is absolutely something that's becoming more and more popular now, and I wish I'd known about that, honestly.
I
I would
know.
have done it.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I had no idea about anything.
I know. I had no idea about anything.
I wish I'd known about doulas.
Me too.
That person would have probably been able to respond to that nurse who was like, your baby's crying, he needs formula.
I know, that's what they all say. They all, I heard that so much when I worked as a lactation consultant in the hospital. I was in the hospital working as a lactation consultant and day shift. Because nobody ever works overnight as a lactation consultant. If you are listening right now and you work at a hospital and your hospital has overnight lactation support, please tell me about it, because I had this conversation with somebody else recently too. It's like, I don't think that's a thing anywhere.
No, they don't even have overnight freaking cardiologists.
No, I know.
I mean, that's true. Maybe there's an emergency room situation or something, but I went in a long time ago. I passed out at work just randomly. Ugh. So I went to the emergency room and I was admitted to the hospital, and I waited through the night to the morning for the cardiologist to come in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It wasn't important enough for them to call him in?
I know. Yeah. I'm like, okay. All right.
Oh, it is like, yeah. Lactation is, if you're lucky enough to have a lactation consultant who's also a nurse who also works night shift, which is not, you got to get all three of those things. But I would come in on day shift and they'd be like, oh, well, the baby was fussy overnight, so we had to give him formula because the baby's starving. Like, how about the baby just got here and they're freaking cranky? How about that?
Yeah.
How about the baby just wants to be held by their mom? How about we don't separate the parents?
Lights down and give the baby to me, because the baby is probably like, what the hell? There's just so many reasons why that baby could be crying. And it's usually not because they're starving. No baby is starving when they first got born.
No, they're not.
When they first got born.
This is how fired up we get about this topic. We forget how to speak.
I'm going to say that from now on. When you got born.
I want to make it perfectly clear that Abby and I are not like, oh my God, formula is the worst thing in the world. That is not the point here. The point is, because I had to use it with my kids, and I know Abby had to use it with Jack, and it is something that's out there that sometimes families need to use for their babies. However, it is not as necessary as people make it seem to be. And that's the point we're trying to make here, that it's not as necessary as, oh, your baby's not gaining well. Let's just supplement them with some formula. Like, there's other things that you can do before you get to that point.
Well, yeah. The whole point is like pushing formula. Like this episode's supposed to be about like when it's being pushed on you and you don't want it.
Right.
So, right. If you want a formula feed and not even breastfeed, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but like if you do, that's why I kind of forget to talk to those people, because I just figure they're not listening. But if you are listening and you don't want to breastfeed, you just want a formula feed, that's fine. And we're not talking to you.
I don't know if I ever told you about this. It was years ago, and I was doing a home visit, and I did a home visit pretty regularly for this family because they needed weight checks, like regular weight checks on the baby, because the baby wasn't gaining very well. And the mother was very dedicated to breastfeeding, and she would, breastfeed all the time. And the baby was a slow gain. And I was there at the house, and the maternal grandmother came over, who, and it was a very messy situation anyway. Like, the father of the baby was kind of abusive. It was just like it was not a great environment. And the maternal grandmother came in, and I came in and I was like getting this Gail set up and everything. And the mother was like, okay, let me run in, and I got to just like, she was, I don't know, running into the bathroom or something like that before we were starting the feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right before I got there. I wasn't even there yet. I walked in and everybody was all had all these weird looks on their faces.
Oh.
And I'm like, what did I just walk into? Like, you could tell I just walked into something weird. Yeah. And it turns out that she was waiting for me to come. The maternal grandmother had showed up. She was waiting for me to get there. So she knew I was coming. She ran into the bathroom so that she'd be done when I came out. When she came out of the bathroom, the maternal grandmother was feeding the baby a bottle of formula. Like, snuck a bottle of formula in her purse into the house And as soon as the mother turned her back, she started feeding the baby this formula.
Why?
Because she was afraid the baby wasn't gaining enough weight.
Oh my God. See, there is so much. I can't even remember when we were talking about it. Was it just now or the last episode? I don't know. Where like all the people really truly believe that breast milk is not enough.
Right.
Like this is what formula marketing has done to us and our parents, especially our parents and our grandparents. Like they were marketed freely and openly all the time, from the doctor's office to TV to everywhere, that your breast milk wasn't enough, that you were like third world if you breastfed, that, your breast milk was, whatever, just not enough. Like this was straight up. Like you look at formula advertisements from not even that long ago, from like 100 years ago or less, and they are just straight up telling you that like your baby's going to die if you breastfeed them.
Yeah.
Like you need to have formula to have a healthy baby. It's not that long ago. Like this is ingrained in people. And this is why this older generation is just like, oh my God, I can't believe you're breastfeeding. Oh my God, that baby's not going to get enough. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Oh my God, freaking, like people just really are still, this is still ingrained in society.
Absolutely. And that's what we're fighting against it. It's like swimming upstream.
Yes, totally.
It's crazy. Yeah. And, when the mother came out and caught her mother doing this, she was like, what are you doing? Like this whole, totally against her wishes.
Yeah, right.
Like how blatantly, I can't even I don't even have the words for it, but it was just,
it's such a violation.
I'm just so worried. It is such a violation. And, she was just like, I'm just so worried about the baby. And, it's just like, so you're just going to sneak in formula and give it to her when the mother's got her back turned? That's a great way to earn your trust.
Yeah. Are you really that worried about the baby? Like, I don't know. I've never seen a baby that I was like so worried about.
I wasn't worried about the baby.
I mean, I see like, I live in Chicago. There's like refugees everywhere with their babies. And I'm not worried about the babies. Like the mom has got the baby.
Right.
Like I'm kind of worried about the parents. But like, I know that they're taking care of their baby. I'm not like, oh my God, give me the baby. Hurry up. I need to give a formula bottle. Oh my God. I can't imagine thinking that.
I know. It's crazy. It is seriously crazy.
Like, was she really that worried? Or was she just like, I got to get in here. I'm going to get in. I need to like tamper with this. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? It was so dysfunctional.
No, you're not. You're just trying to fucking tamper with shit. Was this the parent of the abusive husband?
No, it was the parent of the mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So dysfunctional.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing. Then you've got just so much dysfunction in families, mine too. And then you've got babies that come in. I mean, yeah, my parents, actually, that's true. My parents acted insane. Not in that way, in that particular way, but like other ways they acted insane. And that's what, this is a big portion of people who are going to be pushing formula on you is your family.
Yeah.
And, that's, you gotta tell them this is what we're doing. This is what we've decided. It's none of your business.
Be supportive.
Yeah. This is what we're going to do. And then that ties into kind of like partners going like, oh, well, I want to be able to feed the baby too. And I want my mom to be able to feed the baby. And, maybe the grandma's like, I want to be able to feed the baby. It's like a little bit of formula is not going to hurt. Like, then we get to feed the baby. No.
I talked to a mom not too long ago. I can't remember the situation of why I was talking to her. But she said that with her first, she didn't breastfeed very long. She goes, I was young and the baby's father's family kept telling me I was selfish for breastfeeding because they couldn't feed the baby and kept pushing it on me. I mean, there's only so many times you can hear, you're selfish. Totally. You won't let anybody else feed the baby. Where you just finally give in, right? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah. Like, why are you the only one who gets to?
Because it's
Like,
my baby.
goddamn, I pushed this baby out of my body. Get away, all of you.
I know.
Including you. Whoever was there to like be a part of making the baby. Go away.
It's so true though. So, I mean, you might get it from all different corners, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah. And the family side is really like trying to come up with a way that's like, that works for you to try to protect your boundaries. Like, what are some things that you're going to say? Are you going to say this works for us? Or are you going to say, oh, the doctor thinks he has like a sensitivity. And so breast milk is the best, you can lie, whatever.
Yeah.
You just do whatever you need to do to protect your boundaries. And like, honestly, I do think people get less crazy as the baby gets older. Like, they'll get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
They will adjust. Set your boundaries. Yeah. Everyone else will adjust. Just give it time.
That's a really great point. Yeah. And they're not going to walk away from you.
They're
going to want to see your baby.
They want that baby so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
The doctor's office at any age, when they're telling you that you really should be supplementing with formula, that you really should because of X, Y, and Z, because your breast milk doesn't have enough, because of the baby's age, because of, whatever. You can say, I'm going to talk to my lactation consultant about that first, or my lactation consultant told me, or, something about a lactation consultant, because then you have another professional that's on your side, especially if they're threatening you.
I mean,
go ahead.
If you don't have a personal lactation consultant and you listen to this podcast, you can say I'm your lactation consultant. I'm not going to be
Dianne
upset about that.
My lactation consultant. Yes, do it.
They're not going to know who I am anyway.
They don't know.
But just say my lactation consultant said.
They don't even know a lactation consultant. You could be like, what was Phalange? What was her? What did Phoebe always say her name was? Regina Phalange, IBCLC. She's my lactation consultant.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's hilarious. But yeah, they're not going to know. But if you say, I heard it on a podcast, they're not going to take you seriously.
No, they're not. They're not. But yeah. You just, if they're threatening you, definitely say that you want to get a lactation consultant. If they're just like, oh, you really shouldn't be breastfeeding anymore at 2 years old because they're going to be clingy. Well, find a friggin' another doctor. Just smile and nod. I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes
just ignore it. Just be a duck. Be a duck.
Let it roll. Yep. That's all.
Yeah. I would really like to hear from people about this topic. I'll read messages.
Yeah, for sure. So shoot us a message if you've experienced this in any way, shape, or form. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.